becomes friends with Gus. Gus comes out of jail. As you can see, he's beefed up with steroids. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
6'2", 6'4", steroid jacked, and got a lot of balls, the kid,
Yeah.
Does something really stupid, goes and kills a federal DA agent. Now, he didn't know it was an agent. He didn't know. So, but you don't do business like that either. Even if the guy wasn't an agent, you don't make a deal with somebody,
And then shoot him 3 times in the head.
show up with no money and kill the guy for his goods.
He had no intention of paying him. He was just going to take him out.
Yeah, no matter who he was.
No matter what. Yeah. Even if it was an innocent drug dealer, not a DEA agent. But it turns out to be this guy who's a DEA agent. So what happens?
Now what happens, he gets away on the scene. If I tell you the manhunt for him at the time was unbelievable. It was believable because it was a DEA agent. They put him on America's Most Wanted. And I mean, they were actively, you talk about.
Well, they were shaking down a lot of people, weren't they? I mean, they were going through the neighborhoods. Even Vincent
right.
Hearst, I had heard that they were shaking down people, trying to get, shutting down the mob, basically. Is that accurate?
Once they got word it was an Italian kid that was kind of associated with the mob.
Yeah, that's all it took.
They were on the mob like white on rice.
Yep.
It was, Sonny, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. I've heard
Rightfully
stories.
so. Rightfully so. You can't.
No, that's a bad thing. All you're doing is bringing heat on everyone. So the heat's on. So what continues to take place at this point?
So Gus gets right off the scene, killing the agent. First person he calls, Petrocelli. Just remember John telling me.
That's right.
First person he goes and pages, right? Calls up John Petrocelli. John was, super close to this kid in the can. He helps him. He says, "Come with me. I'll put you up. Hide him out." That's what a big heart, John had.
That's the kind of heart he had, yeah.
A lot of guys maybe would have said, "No, don't come near me.
Yeah, stay away, buddy. The heat's on. Don't come near
away.
me. Yeah.
Don't answer the phone call." So that's like, I know we're dealing with it's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about the masses to people. Say, okay, we're in the middle of this incident with 2 murderers and all this other stuff. I'm just trying to give a different perspective of it when it comes to the mob and stuff, right? So Johnny tells me this kid calls him right away. 911. Calls him right back. Takes him, puts him up at his place to start. After that, he goes and gets him a spot. Now, John lived in the Bronx, right? I don't know exactly where the spot was, but it was kind of rural. He put him up like, I don't know if it was Westchester,
maybe somewhere.
New Rochelle, wherever it was.
Rumor was it was up in Westchester somewhere.
So the house that he put him in was like a house that was, like the backyard was the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very rural. There was acres and acres of woods. Like it was like it was exactly the woods. Like you could have head out in the woods, right? So he puts him up, puts him in the place, make sure he has food, make sure he has clothes, make sure everything he needs to stay on the land.
He's taking care of this kid.
Taking care of him. He goes to raise, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that time, I used to meet him downtown. Because if he came down, he said, "Hey, you're going to be in the neighborhood." Because he used to come see my uncle down when my uncle lived on. My uncle lived on Center Street.
Okay.
No, I take that back. Lafayette between Kenmare and Spring. On Lafayette Street, that's where my uncle lived. So every time John used to come down to the neighborhood, he'd say, "Hey, you're going to be down at the pizzeria." I go, "Yeah." So I would meet him there. He tells Rafi, here's how I know about it, right? Because later on, Rafi tells me, and then John tells me, right? He goes over to Rafi. He tells Rafi, he says, "I got America's Most Wanted." He tells Rafi, because Rafi was that kind of guy. Yeah. I told you, Rafi had a great personality. Everybody loved him. Everybody trusted him and everything else.
He was a politician.
I don't know why or what John was thinking, telling him,
Yeah.
But now, mind you, Gus is all over the papers. He's all over the news. He's all over everywhere.
It's a massive manhunt for this
Massive manhunt.
Yeah, you can't kill a DEA agent and think you're going to get away with it.
He tells Rafe, he says, "Hey," he says, I got America's Most Wanted." Tells Rafe this. So Rafe just, I guess, takes it in. Me and John leave that day, whatever. So it's another day I was in the pizzeria. Rafe comes over to me. pulls me outside. We go in the parking lot. There used to be a parking lot right next door to the restaurant.
Mm.
He says, "Hey," he says, "why don't you stay away from this Johnny?" I said, "Well, why?"
What's going through your head at this point, right?
Well, what's going through my head is, I'm saying, in the beginning when John Petrocelli came in there and he was all over me because of my
Yeah,
uncle,
because your uncle.
you were praising this guy. When he came in there, Rafi jumped out of his chair and says, here's what he told me. He said, "Don't forget this." He said, "Today's janitor could be tomorrow's landlord." So already Rafi's kissing his ass because he knows this guy did a beef. He did, I don't know, 15, 20 years for a double homicide, kept his mouth shut, come home. He's close to Vick and Gas. He gets straightened out right away. May guy. He's due to be the captain of the Bronx. Okay. Now you figure, you know what? He's headed for the number 3 slot. There's only 3 slots that really matter in the
You
mob.
need him in your corner any way you cut it.
And Rafi already kissing ass.
Yep.
Big ass kisser.
Yep.
He wanted to be okay with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yep, that was his thing.
Jumps up. He goes, today's janitor could be tomorrow's landlord. And Rafi was thinking, they were all thinking that eventually John's going to be the captain, then he'll be a concierge or something, like a top 3 slot.
Yeah.
Because you got underboss, boss.
He's on the move in the family.
He's headed for the
It's that
administration.
simple. Yeah.
If he's not headed for the administration, he's very close to the administration.
Yeah.
Well, now.
Why is he telling you to stay away at this point?
Well, now it's a 180.
Yeah.
First, he was praising the guy, and he's very impressed. And he's also impressed by the fact that the guy was, pursuing me.
Yeah.
And telling me, hey, it's good that this guy likes you, and he's very close with. But they used to go like this when they said Vick and Gas.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say Vick and Gas. Most of the times they would go like this, like a V and an A.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Instead of saying
absolutely, you don't have to mention names.
The time that went by was weeks that went by before this happened, right? Rafi calls me down, like I said, and says, "Hey, you think it's a good idea you hanging around this John, because everybody heard I was getting very close with him."
Yeah.
I said, "Why? What's the problem? He's harboring that kid. This Gus, not supposed to be doing that." So I didn't say nothing. So anyway, I continued to hang out with John because I didn't listen to Rafi.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything wrong with it. So I go up to go knuckleheads again, right? John would drink. I didn't realize he had a bad coke habit.
A lot of guys in that area at that time did. It was kind of the thing to do in the late 80s, 90s.
Well, it was one thing where, let's say you're having drinks or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he went in, he took a toot. They used to call it like a little hit.
Yeah, a little bump.
Little bump, whatever they called it. He'd come out and you start drinking again.
Yeah.
Right? Well, as the months went by, it got so bad. I remember one incident, fast forward, right? He pulled out the pager out of his pocket. He had a sport jacket on, right? He pulled out the pager. Somebody was beeping him. He couldn't see the phone number because it was covered in coke.
Oh, my goodness.
So to see the numbers, he went like this. Blew an 8-ball. There must have been I don't know how much flew across the bar, right? Now you got people in there that mostly everybody's drunk. They're looking for a hit.
Yeah, of course they are.
Man, everybody starts getting excited, like, holy
Yeah.
I never see nothing like it. Just went like to say, oh, geez, I can't see it.
And
and a friggin' 8-ball goes flying into the air, right?
That's so funny.
I said, John, what the
Yeah,
right?
What are you doing?
And then he goes to dig in his pocket. He's got like full rocks of coke.
He
must have had an 1/8 of a key on him. Who knew?
My goodness.
Whacked out of his mind. His jaw was locked. Come out of the bathroom like this.
Yeah.
Couldn't even talk anymore.
I remember the type.
I said, holy this is bad. It's getting, right? Anyway, he'd wake up the next day like nothing happened. Fresh as a daisy.
Yep.
I don't know how
That's
people
amazing.
do that.
That's
just
amazing.
out all night.
Yep.
And then wake up the next day like, hey, how you doing? I was
That's
shaking my head because I never did drugs.
That's normalcy for him.
I tried coke once.
Really?
This girl was trying to pick this girl up, and she says, I was in a club, right? She said, hey, you got any like powder on you or whatever? I go, no.
Yeah.
She said, well, if you could get it in 5 minutes, you could have my ass in 5 minutes. So here I am. I'm running to the neighborhood to try to grab, because I wasn't known to do coke.
Where's Petrocelli now?
This is before I knew him,
I know.
right? So I go,
Just
I
messing
go
with you.
grab, I go grab some coke. I go back with the girl and we're partying and everything else, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't help you with a girl,
No. If anything, I think
performance wise.
allegedly it does the
It's
opposite.
kind
Does
of
the opposite.
Alleged
detrimental.
does the opposite.
Yeah.
Anyway, make a long story short.
Scary that we know this.
Make a long story short. After that night, I stood home.
Yeah.
Right when I went home,
Yeah.
staring at the ceiling until 7:00 in the morning, grinding my jaw.
Yeah.
I says, I'll never do this again. I felt like the biggest jerk off.
Well, you don't do anything, Frank. You
No.
don't drink. You don't do drugs. You don't do any of that. I can vouch for that.
And I never did in the past. Anybody that knew me when I was on the street,
Yeah.
I didn't drink. I didn't get high.
No.
Yeah, I would drink, but never get
Well,
to
what
the
was your
point
nickname there for a minute?
where.
What'd they call you? Babyface?
No, that's just the papers.
I'm
Yeah.
just messing with you again. They gave you that nickname. That's why I laugh when I read some stuff.
Yeah, it's like
Anyway.
all this, I see Spaghetti Man. I go, what the hell? Where did they get this from?
Where did they get it from?
I know where they
What's that?
got it from.
Do you really?
I know where they got it from. The Puerto Rican kid I was dealing drugs with, when he would tell the guys that he was working with,
He gave him a different
because
name.
every time, couple times, he used to come down to come see me when I used to give him goods, heroin. I was always eating Italian food. So I'd invite him to a restaurant or whatever, and
Right.
a couple times I was eating spaghetti. So he would go tell his friends on Wiretap, yeah, I just came from Spaghetti Man.